I heard a voice at the moment of death, like someone calling me back from a place I had never known. Have you ever believed that it might be your future self who reached back in time to save you today? Have you ever heard a voice that didn't seem to belong to this world, yet rang louder than anything else when all other sounds fell silent? I did. I've died before, and I've heard that voice. My name is Ethan Blake. I was a United States Marine, Iraq, 2008. Rank, Sergeant. Mission, combat. Status after returning, alive, but no longer living. I didn't die from bullets or bombs. I died from a silence that seeped deep into my bones. The day I left my body, there was no one beside me. No voices calling, no sighs. Only one voice echoed in a place where sound didn't exist. It's not time, unless you want it to be. Not loud, not soft, not warm, not cold, just present. And I knew somehow it knew me better than I had ever known myself. I used to think death would be dramatic. The lights go out, a sharp, searing pain, blood, sirens wailing. But my death came like a quiet door opening in the dark. No one saw it, no one heard it. It was just me, and something calling me from the other side. Have you ever died not because you had nothing left to say, but because there was too much you'd never been able to hear? That's how I died. I was trained to fight, to survive. I was taught to accept loss the same way I was taught to break down an M16 rifle. Fast, precise, emotionless. But no one trained me on how to survive after the war. No one told me that coming home would be the real battle. I came home, but my brothers didn't. An empty bunk in the barracks. A group photo now missing half the faces. I lived in peace, but felt like a ghost haunting peacetime. I tried to fill that emptiness with alcohol, with sleeping pills, with silence, with hours spent stitching tiny threads into a scrap of cloth, not because I was an artist, but because every stitch was a reason not to disappear. Then one day, it all became too much. I stepped into the shower, and a sharp pain shot through my neck. I slipped and fell. The water kept running. The world started to fade. The pain moved down my back. And then, nothing. Only one thing remained. That voice. You can go on. Or you can come back, but not the same. I used to think I was just a leftover survivor. But in that moment, I felt more present than I ever had in my entire life. I don't know who called me. There was no face, no name. But that sound was like a thread pulling backward through time, drawing me toward a truth I had long forgotten. And you know what the strangest part was? I wanted to stay in that place where I felt seen, heard, where I didn't have to keep pretending. But I wasn't allowed to stay forever. Not when there was still one thing I hadn't done. There was a word I hadn't spoken. A person is still waiting for me to come back. Have you ever asked yourself, if I died right now, is there something I still haven't finished? If someone has already forgiven me, but I've never forgiven myself? That's why I'm telling this story. Not to prove that I died and came back, but so you understand this. Maybe the moment you thought was the end is actually where your real life begins. I once heard someone say, dying isn't the scary part. Living without knowing why you're alive, that's what's truly terrifying. And I had lived that way until the moment I stopped breathing and finally understood why I was still breathing. In the next part, I'll tell you what had already killed me inside long before the accident ever happened. And why a soldier once as hard as stone found his peace not on the battlefield, but in the quiet rhythm of each tiny stitch. I came back from the war like an empty shell that could still walk. No one ever told me that surviving could feel like a burden too. I returned to the US in June of 2009. The weather was beautiful. Flags waved from rooftops. People shook my hand, thanked me for serving our country. But when they shook my hand, they didn't know I couldn't feel anything in my palms anymore. I could still move, but I couldn't feel. The war didn't just take my brothers in arms. It took the last soft part of me, too. I used to be someone who laughed. I used to play the guitar, cook badly, and doodle nonsense on napkins. But when I came home, I was afraid of gunshots in movies. I hated sudden applause. I couldn't sleep unless my face was turned to the wall. I didn't speak because no one could understand the screams inside my head. You've heard of PTSD, right? They call it a disorder, but I call it a memory that doesn't know how to die. It lives on inside me. It disguises itself as sleep. It hides in awkward laughter. It flickers in my eyes every time someone asks, "You doing okay?" I nodded. But inside, I was falling and no one knew. Every day I walked around like someone had strapped 90 pounds to my shoulders. Not a backpack memory. I'd walk into a coffee shop. No one could tell I'd once carried a rifle. I'd stand in the middle of a fully stocked produce aisle, and all I wanted to do was scream. I watched my friend bleed out for this country, so why do I still feel so worthless? No one heard me, and I don't blame them. I couldn't even hear myself anymore. I lived like the shadow of a soldier, cold when I was awake, screaming in my sleep. No one held me. No one asked. No one saw that I was living like a corpse that still knew how to breathe. There was only one person who ever saw it. Jake, my best friend, my brother in arms, the one who shared a bunk with me back at the base in Tikrit. Jake died in an ambush. He stepped in front of me just seconds before it hit. I came home. He didn't. I never told his mother. Your son still lives inside me, but I don't know how to keep him alive in a way that honors him. I was angry at myself for surviving, angry that I couldn't do anything to let him see America one more time. Angry because, with every breath I took, I felt like I was betraying those who didn't make it back. So I stopped talking, stopped sharing, stopped trying. Until one day, I sat down in front of an embroidery hoop. My mom had sent me a little kit. I scoffed at first. What kind of man does needlework, I thought. But I opened the box anyway, picked up the needle, threaded it, touched the fabric, stitch by stitch. And, strangely, I felt something in me begin to lighten. It wasn't because I was an artist. It was because, for the first time, I didn't have to be efficient, or quick to respond, or by the book. All I had to do was stay with each stitch. And each one felt like a deep breath for my soul. I stitched every night, not to make something beautiful, but because, if I didn't do something with my hands, I felt like I would lose my mind. Each stitch was a way to keep Jake with me, a way to keep myself from slipping any further. But what comes, always comes. My neck started to hurt, and one night I lost my balance in the bathroom. My head hit the floor. In the seconds after that fall, I wasn't a soldier anymore. Wasn't the one who... I was just a soul with no idea where it belonged. And then I heard it, the voice. For the first time in all the years I'd lived in silence, there was a sound not from someone outside me, but as if a part of me that had always been awake was gently whispering, "It's not time, Ethan, unless you want it to be." In the next part, I'll tell you about the moment my soul left my body and why I didn't feel any pain at all. There was only one thing: presence. And the first thing I saw, it wasn't a light. It was I, in a way I had never seen before. I watched myself dying like a stranger I'd never truly met before. I don't remember the exact moment I fell, just the cold bathroom floor. I was about to splash water on my face, a tiny crack in my neck. Then darkness. But not total darkness. It was just that everything became very still. There was no blinding white light like in the movies, no angels appearing through clouds, no soft heavenly music, just silence. A kind of silence that wasn't frightening, but almost sacred. And then I realized I was no longer lying on the floor. Not because someone had picked me up, but because I was looking at the floor from above. I didn't feel myself stand up. I didn't float away. I just left. My body was still there, but it didn't look like me. Strange, isn't it? I had spent my whole life inside that body, lifting weights, training, healing, tattooing it, hiding behind it, smiling through it. But in that moment, looking down, all I saw was a shell. I didn't feel sad. I wasn't afraid. I didn't feel any sense of loss. Just a realization. Oh, so I'm not this body. No weight, no heartbeat, no breath. And yet I still knew I was me. I wasn't thinking with my brain. I wasn't feeling with my heart. I had become a pure awareness, clearer than I ever thought possible. I saw everything in the room, but not in the usual way. Not through light, not through color, but through a field of knowing. The towel on the floor, I knew exactly when it had fallen and how long it had been there. The mirror, cracked in one corner, I could feel the day I hit it, driven by anger I never knew how to name. The shirt hanging on the door, I saw the day my mother mailed it from home with a note that read, "I stitched your name into the sleeve so that no matter where you are, you'll still belong to someone." I began to feel like I was dissolving, but not disappearing, like a wisp of smoke that knew it was smoke, unburdened but not meaningless. And then there was sound. Not like a human voice, not like music, not something I heard with my ears. It came from everywhere, and at the same time, from within me. "Ethan, you're not done, but you can choose." No one had said my name like that in a very long time. Ethan, but not like in the military, not like my mother's voice either. It was Ethan, as if my very soul was being gently called awake. The sound didn't command, it didn't instruct. It was simply presence. A different kind of consciousness, neither male nor female, inviting me, "Wake up." I didn't know where I was. There was no whiteness, no doorway, no heaven, just a shimmering space as if it were woven from the breath of the universe itself. I called it the soft light. Not bright, not dim, just light with a soul. And in that moment, I no longer saw the world as we know it. I saw the truth beneath the surface of the physical. Every human being was a moving strand of light, but confined, framed within a physical form. Every object had a story. Every choice sent out a ripple. Every emotion left a trace. I remembered the times I'd lost my temper, and I saw it. Like the very air around me had once vibrated with the words I had spoken. I remembered the moments I quietly helped someone, and I saw a small light flows from my hands, then disappears into that person's heart. Nothing was lost. Nothing went unrecorded. Nothing failed to resonate within this invisible web of light. And I realized, death didn't take me away. It gave me back to myself. I didn't know if I was going up or down. There was no direction, only a flow, a movement pulling me toward a place where I would meet something I had forgotten long, long ago. And there waiting for me was a light with a faint, shifting form. I didn't know what to call it. It had no face, no eyes, but I knew it was looking at me, and it knew everything. "Ethan, I'm here to remind you of something you promised before you entered the physical world. You will return to life if you can find a reason to love again." I didn't answer, not out of fear, but because in that light, I felt something I had once been and somehow lost. And then it called my name again. But this time, it didn't just say Ethan. It called my soul with a sound beyond words, a frequency. And I vibrated. Not like flesh and bone, but like a thread finally finding its way back to the needle. I'll tell you about Say, the one who guided me through the first vibrating gateway to a place where, for the very first time, I felt that Earth itself was a living being with a soul. I didn't walk. I didn't fly. I simply moved as if I and the space around me were the same. No distance, no time, no starting point, no destination. It was like becoming dissolved. And that's when I felt him, Sail. He didn't step out of the darkness. He didn't appear in the light. He had simply always been there. Like a painting you've walked past for years, and one day the image suddenly rises to the surface. Sale had no face, but he had presence. It wasn't about beauty or form. It was the clarity you feel when something just is. He was like a layer of clear, balanced air, even, weightless, and impossible to describe. Some people are kind, some are gentle, but Sale, he was grounded. I had no mouth, but I asked, "Who are you?" I asked. He answered not with words, but with rhythm. "The one your soul trusts most on the way back home." I didn't ask for anything more, because in him there was no urgency, no persuasion, only an invitation. Like stepping onto a familiar path only to realize you hadn't walked it in a very long time. We began to move. I didn't know where, and I didn't need to, because the space in front of me had no shape, but it moved. There was no sound, but there was the pulse. No color, but there was vibration. I moved through layers of vibration. Each one was like a coat of invisible paint, colorless, yet stirring up clear and distinct sensations. Contrast, warmth, tightness, then sorrow. And I realized, human beings only see a fragment of true reality. Like someone wearing headphones, hearing only one range of frequencies, while everything else is still playing, just not in sync with them. Then we reached a mass of light. It looked like a shimmering gate waiting for me to pass through. But the gate didn't open, it dissolved. And as I stepped in, I knew instantly. I had entered a completely new field of awareness. I saw the earth, not on a map, not on a TV screen, but earth as a living being, breathing, with chakras, a heartbeat, and even wounds. I frowned. The earth feels pain? Sale didn't answer, but a deep vibration echoed through me. You may not know this, but Gaia is a soul. Every time a human chooses hatred, a layer of smoke forms in her energy field. And every time someone forgives, a flower blooms somewhere on the tree of souls. I wept. I had chosen hatred before. I thought I was only hurting myself. But I realized I had also struck the earth. And for the first time in years, I wanted to say I was sorry. I wanted to place my hands on the soil and say, "I've come back. Let me do it differently this time." Sael guided me forward. Ahead was a forest of light where souls moved like colorless currents, constantly flowing. Some souls vibrated in deep, dense tones, heavy like an echo in a cave. Others were lighter, higher, like flutes carried on the wind. And Sael said, "There is no such thing as a bad soul," Sael said, "only souls who haven't yet remembered who they are." I asked, "Then who am I?" Sael replied, "You are an instrument, and every time you choose to love, to forgive, to live truthfully, you're tuning yourself back into harmony." I stood there in silence. In war, I had believed strength was the sound of a gun. After coming home, I believed silence was the way to protect myself. But here, I understood. True strength is the ability to feel your presence in every choice you make. Before we left the forest, Sael pointed upward. There was a place brighter than any other, but not blinding, not overpowering. It was a stillness so complete it felt sacred. That, Sael said, is the source. You're not ready to go there yet, but you are ready to remember. And I knew. I was about to be taken deeper into the place every soul must pass through before returning to the physical world, the Soul Council. I was still floating in this new field of awareness, where light wasn't dazzling, but clear, where every thought became a vibration, where I was no longer a body, but pure intention. And in that space, a familiar frequency began to rise. Before I could even say his name, I already knew it was Jake. Jake, my best friend, my brother in arms, who had stood shoulder to shoulder with me through the brutality of war. The one who gave his life so I could keep mine. The one I had carried ever since, like a wound that never healed. And now, he was right in front of me. No uniform, no blood, no pain. Just a presence gentle like the last light of day. I didn't know how to speak. All these years, I had blamed myself, stayed silent, carried the weight of guilt like a backpack too heavy to put down. But Jake didn't need me to speak. He stepped closer and placed his hand on my shoulder. A simple gesture, but it reached deeper than any embrace ever could. I know. I've always known, and I never once blamed you. There was no sound, but I heard it with my soul. I broke down in tears. Not the tears of weakness, but the tears that come when a wound is finally washed clean. I cried out, I didn't live in a way that honored what you gave up for me. I've been alive, but not living. Jake smiled that same smile I remembered, the one I still saw in dreams, the one that haunted me when I'd wake up in the middle of the night. Ethan, you're alive. That's enough. But if you want, then live in a way that makes your soul proud. I nodded, and in that moment I understood. Forgiveness isn't just something I needed to receive. It was something I had to give to myself. Jake took a step back. The light around him began to shimmer gently, as if he were preparing to leave. There are places I need to go, he said, but I'll always be there whenever you tune in to the true frequency of friendship. I choked out, I'm sorry. He shook his head. I thank you. And then he faded into the light. Not gone, but merged into something greater, a larger flow. And even now, I can still feel him like a warmth in my chest that never left. I stood still in that space. No combat boots, no uniform. Just me and a single opportunity to become the version of myself Jake always believed I could be. Sale returned to my side. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. I knew. It was time to enter a deeper layer where my soul would be brought before itself and every choice that had ever shaped me. In the next part, I'll be taken to the Soul Council, where I will see my entire life, not through eyes, but through the frequency of every action, every emotion, every word left unspoken. And you'll understand. No one judges us the way our soul already has. I followed Sale into a new space. It wasn't a room. It wasn't a temple or a throne room. It was a field of deep golden light where time no longer flowed, and where each soul was invited to see itself with the clearest eyes possible. At the center of this space was a faintly glowing circle. Surrounding it were tall, luminous beings whose forms I couldn't quite define. They didn't speak. They didn't look at me. They simply were, and their presence carried the unmistakable sense that they knew every thought, every moment, every scratch etched onto the surface of my soul. And then the space around me began to shift. The veil of light opened, and a stream of images emerged, not like a movie, but like waves of vibration striking directly against the field of my soul. I saw myself as a child, angry, doubtful. I saw myself growing older, wearing masks, pretending to be strong. I saw the moment I yelled at my mother, the moment I lost a love, the moment I pushed someone away because I was afraid they might truly see me. Each moment didn't just appear, it became an experience. I didn't just feel what I had felt, I felt what others had felt when they received the vibration of my actions. I saw every stitch I had ever sewn, not on fabric, but within the vibrational field of someone's heart. And I understood. No act is small. No mistake is so minor that it causes no ripple. Everything creates waves, and those waves move through the entire tree of souls. I was placed before a towering presence, the soul tree. Every soul was a leaf. Every choice is a vein. Every act of forgiveness, every vibration of fear or love etched into the surface like delicate lines of memory. I stood before my leaf. It wasn't lush green, but it wasn't dry either. It looked like a tangled map of emotions and decisions woven together. Sale said, "You are not being judged. You are being remembered." And in that moment, I saw more clearly than ever before who I had been and who I still had the power to become. I was brought to the most important choice of my life, to move on or return. And I chose to return, not because I feared death, but because I realized someone was still waiting for a word of love I had never sent. I stood there bathed in gentle light, surrounded by calm, resonant vibration, as Sael said, "It's time to choose. No one is forcing you to return. No one is holding you here. But your soul will know if there is still something left undone." I was silent, not because I was unsure, but because, for the first time in my life, every noise inside me had gone still. No more anger, no more regret, no more Jake screaming in my dreams, no more of my mother's eyes watching me through a cracked doorway. Only one quiet question, soft but echoing through every layer of my soul. If you go back, will you live differently? There was no time to hesitate, because I was no longer on time. There was only the field of choice, a plane of vibration where reasons didn't matter anymore. Only honesty remained. And when I was honest, I saw I had never told Jake thank you for dying in my place. I had never forgiven myself for surviving but never truly living. I had never told my mother that I knew she loved me, even if she never said it out loud. I had never told myself that I was worthy of healing. I remembered every stitch I had sewn, each thread like a breath. I once stitched to keep from disappearing. But now, I wanted to stitch to mend what I had once broken. I spoke to Sael not with words, but with the frequency of my heart. I want to go back, not to start over, but to live differently. Sael didn't nod. He didn't disappear. Only the light around him shifted, growing brighter as if to say, "Then go, and remember, be the most honest instrument you can be." And then I saw not a door, but an opening within me. A stream of energy began to pull me back toward my body. Not fast, not slow. It felt as if I were being woven back thread by thread into my physical form. Each cell, each breath, each vibration. Darkness returned, not as a threat, but like a blanket. I heard the beeping of a heart monitor. I saw the soft glow of lights. I felt someone's tears fall onto my hand. I opened my eyes. My mother was sitting there. She didn't speak, but her eyes said everything. "Thank you for coming back." I gripped her hand weakly, but truly. And in that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. The next and final part will reveal the strangest truth of all. The voice that called me back didn't come from someone else. It came from a future version of me, a healed version returning to awaken the man I used to be. And that's why I believe the light isn't something you see with your eyes, it's something you remember with your heart. I'm not telling this story to convince you to believe. I'm not asking you to accept that there's a place after death, a place with light, with guides, with vibrating beings. All I ask, do you remember? Because the truth is, I didn't die to find out what's after death. I died to remember what I had forgotten while I was still alive. In those first days after waking up, I stayed quiet more than I spoke. Not because I was afraid people would laugh, but because I feared I wouldn't have the words to describe a truth that had no words. I began to notice the smallest things. A touch, a glance, a meal eaten alone. And I understood that every moment sends a signal to our soul. The question is, are we still enough to hear it? I used to ask, who called me back when no one else was there? It wasn't my mother. It wasn't Jake. It wasn't Sael. It was me. A deeper me. A brighter me. A more healed, more awakened version of myself. A me who had walked the full journey and returned to pull me back from the edge. And I realized we are never truly alone. Because within each of us, there is always a version waiting for us to remember who we are. Now, I live differently. I still stitch, but not to forget, to remember. I stitch threads that reconnect memories between my mother and me. I stitch for Jake, every thread a quiet thank you. And I stitch for myself, each line a whispered forgiveness. If you've ever felt lost, if you've ever heard a voice in the silence, if you've ever wished you could start over just to love more gently, more truthfully, then maybe someone in your future is calling you home too. Share your story in the comments. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Because maybe your words will be the signal that helps another soul feel a little less alone on this journey. And if you want to keep hearing stories like this, stories of dying to truly live, of getting lost just to be found, of breaking down so the light can pour in, hit follow. Because what you're searching for might not be out there. It might be waiting for you within you.